Yep.
Oh, yes, you.
Question boy.
Apparently.
The CEO of BitNation, one of the world's first blockchain original companies.
I mean, he wasn't all incorrect. It's the thing.
He does this every month. He just comes up and once his 5 minutes.
I mean, he had good questions at least. I can't argue.
I don't know if he's right or
I'm sorry. Gabriel Kurman is the next speaker. He is from Rootstock or RSK. One of the world's first security companies with blockchain to enable smart contracts secured by the Bitcoin network. Gabriel is an economist studying in the University of
in your pocket as well?
and education experience with
It's just the same one as
corporate
can I put it?
and M&A. Okay. I think he's almost ready.
See?
All right, thank you.
See if it works.
Okay, Gabriel, go ahead.
Good. Okay.
Thank you for that talk.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Whoa, tough crowd. I've been told that that people are very straightforward, so I'm very happy to be here. We've been traveling around Europe for the last 3 weeks. Before that, we were in South America with 35 degrees on the beach. And it's really rewarding and so amazing to see everything that's going on here, meeting so many friends. And we're really happy to be here. And I'll try to be very short on the presentation because I know it's late. And I was thinking, okay, how can I add some value or tell you something new? And probably, getting or sharing with you the Latin American perspective of the blockchain revolution and everything we're seeing. Maybe add some value to you guys because, where we come from, it's very clear why we need blockchain and why we need Bitcoin. And I think Andreas Antonopoulos summarized it very well in Mexico after La BitConf that we did in 2014. He said, every time I go anywhere, people ask me why Bitcoin. But when I go to Latin America, people ask me how Bitcoin. So when you have 200 million people that are poor and outside the system, which represent 65% of the population in the region, it is pretty clear that the current financial system is not working and we need to innovate and come up with new ideas. So this is kind of the background how RSK was created. Maybe you know some of the co-founders of the team. My background is in finance, so I worked in private equity all my life until 2013 when I got across blockchain technology and just blew my mind. But also Dieguito is a co-founder. He's part of the founders of the Argentine Bitcoin community. He created the first Bitcoin center in Latin America. And along with other friends, they created La BitConf, which is the longest running and most important Bitcoin conference in Latin America. And we also helped 10 other Bitcoin communities to build grassroots movements in the region. So we came up with Latin American Bitcoin NGO, which basically is focused on helping communities to develop new projects, inspire new entrepreneurs, and helping them find the right VCs and now hopefully receive funding to pursue their projects. So basically, if you think about it, the internet changed our lives completely, right? Put the whole history and knowledge of humankind in our pocket. But there was one thing that the internet of information or knowledge could not solve. And this is the fact that digital files are very easy to copy. Right? If I send you a picture of a €100 note, you won't give any value to that because it's very easy to copy. So this is the most important thing the blockchain technology brought to our society. And in our vision, this is way more and more important than a technology or a cryptocurrency. It's just a whole new era of the internet that we expect to have multiple times more value than everything we've seen before with the internet of information, but overall, that the internet of value will bring the same benefits to our society that the internet of knowledge brought to us. So this is how the RSK founding team see the blockchain revolution, and this is how we've been working on in the last 3 years. Mainly focused on how we can bring real use cases to transform the lives of the billion unbanked and poor people in the world that are currently outside the system, but will have a smartphone with access to the internet in the next 2 years. So you'll see during the presentation that everything we do, it's focused on that, on how we can improve the customer experience, the kind of services and products that can be offered to these newcomers to the digital world. So, and when is this happening? No, it's not happening in any particular moment in time. Being an economist, I love this chart. I was showing it to a Putin advisor a week ago. I was showing it to the House of Lords in England and to the Argentine Central Bank and Colombian Central Bank many times. And this is, you know, the purchase power of the US dollar over the last 100 years. So the Internet of Value is not appearing as a technology in any random moment in time, but in a very particular one, because if you see since 1933, when Roosevelt took the gold away from the American families, until 2009, the US dollar lost 94% of its value, and it's 98% until today. And this is the strongest fiat currency that we have in the world. Imagine what's left for the Argentine peso or the Venezuelan bolivar, right? So in the emerging markets, it's pretty clear that, you know, up to now, until Bitcoin was created, the only real alternative that we had to store value over time was this. But it's not very good. But still, Argentine families and Latin American families save, you know, US dollar bills under the mattress. And if you see what happened after the 2008 crisis, it got even worse, right? This is a monetary experiment that we've never seen in modern history before. The green line, the green area, is the amount of dollars in circulation, and the spike is, you know, the quantitative easing, just printing green paper out of nowhere. And the yellow line is the price of gold. Of course, I couldn't put price of crypto in this chart because it wouldn't fit in the graph. So it is very interesting, you know, that for the first time in the last 5,000 years, we might have an alternative to gold as a long-term store of value. And there's something that I love to say every time I present this. Imagine, you know, if we are in a UFO or in the Tesla that Elon launched yesterday, and we looked at humankind from the outside and said, well, this is a pretty smart society, right? We decoded the DNA, we sent a probe to Pluto, now Tesla to the asteroid belt. So I thought it was going to Mars, but apparently not. But still, when we want to save and store value over time, we just dig underground a yellow metal. We put it in a square box and hide it again underground. It's like so primitive, right? How come we couldn't come up with something that could be digitally or mathematically scarce that could work as a long-term store of value? So let's see how this evolves. But we believe that maybe in the same way that 150 years ago, after the French Revolution, the Western world divided the roles of government and religion, and I think Ron Paul said this yesterday, but you saw I said it the day before, right? Yeah. So maybe we are starting a process now that might take 5 years, 20 or 50, where the role of government and money will be separated. I mean, if we see the chart that I showed before, governments and central banks have been doing a very lousy job at providing us long-term store of value with fiat currencies. So now the internet is providing us alternatives. So it's a very exciting moment in time, and I guess you all agree that so far, Bitcoin and the Bitcoin network is the best alternative for long-term store of value that we have so far. We'll see, but at least let's say crypto in general, right? So when we started working on real applications for blockchain technology in Latin America, how we can create a financial system that could include the billions that are currently unbanked and outside the system, we started realizing that the only alternative that we had was Ethereum. But for many reasons, we thought that Ethereum might not be able to scale. And in a conversation that we had with Nick Szabo in San Francisco in 2014, he shared the same frustration. He said, like, why we're not using the current infrastructure that is already available to secure Bitcoin to run smart contracts. It's like we are reinventing the wheel. So we decided that maybe we could do something about it. It's always good to have alternatives. We don't know how proof of stake will evolve. So we decided to join the best of both worlds, the flexibility of the Ethereum virtual machine with the security of the Bitcoin hashing power and the Bitcoin network. So this is basically RSK, right? It's a business logic layer, smart contracts that can be secure and executed by the Bitcoin network. So we believe, and we expect, we hope, that the combination of the security of the Bitcoin network and the flexibility of Solidity-based and Web3 smart contracts can play a key role in the construction of the Internet of Value that we believe we're all creating at this time. So now I would like to share, like, very quickly, 5 pillars on which RSK is created. The first one is, as I said before, a virtual machine that is fully compatible with that of Ethereum. The main purpose why we decided to, the main reason why we decided to do this is because we really like the Ethereum community and the projects, some projects that are being built around Ethereum, the flexibility and the talents of developers that are working on this. So we wanted to make sure that RSK was an alternative, and always having alternatives is good. Right? So if you have a car that only runs on fuel, now it can run on diesel as well. And actually we have a lot of projects that are thinking and testing RSK to have their same projects available on both platforms. Many of them are having scalability problems, and the cost of the Ethereum fuel does not make some use cases viable. So now we have the RSK virtual machine available that should be able to provide an additional or a different hashing power because it's mined by ASIC miners, and probably we should be able to provide a fuel cost that is a fraction of that of Ethereum because we are subsidized by Bitcoin. So the RSK miners do not need to get fuel from smart contracts or significant fuel because they are just paying the bills with the money they're making mining Bitcoin. The second pillar is that we decided not to use a new tradable coin to pay for the gas. So instead of paying for the smart contract execution on Ether, we use Bitcoin. Actually, we use something called Smart Bitcoin, which is a Bitcoin living on the RSK blockchain. And the way it works is the following. We call this two-way peg. The most famous type of two-way peg is the sidechain, but the sidechain is too complex. It requires 5 opcodes to be changed and a hard fork. There is a simplified version that you might have heard. It's called Drive Chain. It's created by Paul Stork, and Sergio made a few changes. We presented the VIP to the core team a year ago. And actually, there are some other protocols that are trying to and willing to implement it, like Litecoin and Dash and Bitcoin Cash. So, you know, we let every single protocol to compete based on innovation, decentralization, and security. So we'll see how it evolves. The way the two-way peg works is you send Bitcoins to a locking account. You receive the same amount of Bitcoins, millibits, or Satoshis on a smart version, so smart Bitcoins on the RSK blockchain. The RSK blockchain has blocks every 14 seconds. It's Turing complete. You can program smart contracts and can process up to 400 transactions per second. Whenever the user or the miner that you paid to execute your smart contract wants to cash it out, they send it back to the peg, and the Bitcoins that were locked in the first place get released. Before Bitcoin Core implements the drive chain opcode, soft fork, the peg will be federated. So we have a federation that is currently comprised by 25 major exchanges distributed around the world, that every single one of them has a private key of a multi-sig. These are companies that handle the security for billions of euros, and this is just going to be handling one private key of a two-way peg that we expect to be very small at the beginning, because you only need to convert smart Bitcoins to pay for the fuel of the execution of the smart contract. For instance, if someone wants to do an ICO or a token sale on RSK, they can just receive the money or the value in Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain and automatically send the tokens on the RSK blockchain. where both blockchains are secured by the same hashing power, but you only need to have at risk in the peg the amount that you need to pay for the execution of the contract. Eventually, when we have the drive chain or the hybrid solution, then the peg is going to be way more solid, and you can be able to secure more value on the peg. Also, the platform allows merge mining, and this is the reason why we have 80% support of all the miners in the world, in the Bitcoin space, because it's a no-brainer for them. So 80% of the total fuel that is executed and paid to run smart contracts go to ASIC miners. Even Bitcoin Cash miners can merge mine RSK. So eventually, could even have more hashing power than Bitcoin, because it's a combination of both. And this is a no-brainer for the miners. It's just free money for them. The way this is done, I'll try to explain it very quickly, is you know how mining pools work. They have a very high difficulty level that is required to solve a Bitcoin block. But in order to know how to distribute the shares of the mining pool, they request a very low difficulty level that is called proof of mining. So all the miners are every 30 seconds sending information that is only used to distribute the shares when the pool finds a valid solution. As RSK has blocks every 14 seconds, the difficulty is right in the middle. So we use all the scrap that the mining pool is receiving to test valid solutions for RSK. So this is how Sergio and the Decor protocol that he wrote, that is open source and available to everybody to check it, take a look, allows the Bitcoin miners with the same electricity consumption and with the same hardware to also secure smart contracts with zero efficiency loss on their end. Eventually, when we have enough value and fees on the RSK blockchain, miners might decide to increase the speed on which they talk to their miners. Because as RSK blocks are every 14 seconds, if you want to maximize your chances of finding a winning block and not an uncle on the RSK blockchain, you should talk to your miners every 5 seconds or every 3 seconds. So whenever the amount of fees coming on the RSK blockchain make sense, then the miners can start talking more often and probably lose like 0.1% on their Bitcoin efficiency just because of the bandwidth consumption. But in the meantime, they're going to keep talking every 30 seconds, so it's zero efficiency loss. Something also interesting is that, you know, as part of the fees are going to go to the RSK protocol to keep on evolving in the future, we said, is there anything we could do to reward full nodes? I mean, we all understand the value that full nodes have in the decentralization of the platform. So we decided to use part of the fees being received by RSK to reward the RSK full nodes, but also the Bitcoin full nodes. And this is something very interesting because it's the first time that a second layer solution will be helping to decentralize the initial layer. Chris, you asked me a question 2 days ago and how Sergio is going to do this. So I did my homework. I went back to base, to the guys that really know what we're doing. And this is how we're going to do it. So this is being developed. So Sergio is developing this. But the idea, I mean, Chris' question was, how do you do that? Because it's very difficult to prove that a full node actually has the full blockchain, right? They could talk to another one and just take the information from the other one and not having the full node. So it's the idea, it's based on an asymmetric test where you randomly ask the full nodes for information where they have to give you a random answer from the blockchain, including their IP. So if they want to copy that from another block, it just takes more than a minute and it doesn't make it viable, okay? So we can get deeper with Sergio, but this is the idea behind how you can prove that the full node that is getting rewarded actually holding the full blockchain. And last but not least, the most important pillar is the community. So RSK is just infrastructure. We want to add value to the most important communities that exist today in the world. Those are the Bitcoin and the blockchain communities, the smart contract developers and companies working on Solidity and Web3. So this is the reason why we're traveling around the world, visiting the most important meetups, and definitely this is one that we wanted to visit for a very long time. I know Chris has been inviting Sergio for many years to come, and finally we've been able to come here. Because if we want to build the Internet of Value and really transform our society using blockchain technologies upon all of us to develop these use cases and solutions for the actual users that need this the most. These are just a few examples of use cases that are already running on RSK. We started working on this 3 years ago, so it's despite the fact that we launched the mainnet. I mean, the testnet was available since last year. The mainnet was launched 3 weeks ago, but we already have a few interesting use cases already running on RSK. This one is one done by Signatura. We have a huge corruption problem in Latin America, and the easiest way to perform corruption is on public and private tenders. So with a very low cost, what Signatura allows you is to hash your tender proposal when everybody presents the envelopes, and a week later when you see who's won the tender, you hash that offer again, and the hash needs to match the original one. If they change a comma, you know there's been corruption. So it's a very simple way to eliminate corruption in governments and corporations, and we're using this as a Trojan horse, to get into the governments and into the companies in Latin America. Say, look, this is how you can use blockchain. It's extremely cheap. Let's start working on this. This is another use case that wants to allow people to play around with asset tokenization very quickly. Blockchain technology is super complex, and if we want to reach 1 billion users, we need to make it very simple. I touch a button and I talk over the phone. I really don't have a clue what's going on underneath. Well, we need to make sure that we develop applications that are so simple that anybody can use it without even knowing that they're using blockchain. So this is what we're trying to do with the Coinbank solution. With 3 clicks, you can either join a token or create a new token, invite your friends, and this is how you see your wallet with all the loyalty programs that you created. It's a friend of mine, I always mention this example, did it with his wife. So he goes out with the guys, a few drinks, comes late, needs to pay some loyalty points to his wife, and then the wife used those to go on shopping. Yeah, so the program is working perfectly, the marriage, so-so. But it's like we are dealing with asset tokenization without even knowing, right? And the funny thing is that on the RSK mainnet, every single Matri miles is going to be as secure as a Bitcoin, even when it's like for free and just play around. But also this can be a tool for every single shop and coffee store or pharmacy chain to create their own loyalty program using blockchain technology, right? This is how we need to think in order to make blockchain technology mainstream. The way we see it is like the RSK platform or any of the other blockchain solutions that we are working on, different teams around the world, are the gigafactory. We're all playing the game of offering the ecosystem the most secure at the lowest possible cost infrastructure. But then if we don't have the Tesla, if we don't have something that is super easy to play around with and user-friendly, then this whole blockchain revolution won't get mainstream. So we need to work in the infrastructure layer, but also promote use cases that are very simple to use, especially for those unbanked people that probably a large percentage are illiterate, that really don't know how to deal with technology. So we need to make it very, very simple. Having said that, we are already working with Davivienda, which is the second largest bank in Colombia, on a white label solution, is using the same tokenit engine that we saw before. And we told them, okay, so there's 1 billion people that are going to be using blockchain technology and requesting micro loans, micro transactions, and micro remittances, and there is no bank in the planet that can provide a solution and make money in the process. So they loved it because one of the main purposes of the bank is to promote financial inclusion. Now, when we started working, we said no, we're going to start by something super simple. So we developed for them a loyalty program for their own employees. Has no regulatory risk, has no commercial risk, but they already have 5,000 beta testers within their company paying lunch every day with tokens on the RSK blockchain. So after that, the next step, we already closed stage 1. The second stage is to expand this to their 3 million customers. So again, a loyalty program, but now with their customers. And after that, we're already in conversations with the Colombian Central Bank. The idea is to create a sandbox where they decide maybe 100 euros, maybe 200 euros that we can lend to poor families and entrepreneurs in Colombia just by adding the same technology, a new token that is called the Da Vivienda Peso with request a loan and request a deposit. So we're teaching these organizations how to deal with blockchain technology and how to develop profitable use cases to serve these billions of users. Whether it's going to be a bank or a fintech or a peer-to-peer solution, we don't know. I mean, we might have some ideas. We'll see what happens. But it's very important that all these legacy organizations feel part of the blockchain revolution, so they are not against. So we spend a lot of time trying to invite them to provide solutions. I mean, in the end, it doesn't really matter what we want. It's who can provide better services at a lower cost to these billions of users. So let everybody compete to serve those new customers. Same thing with Tarjeta Naranja. It's the largest credit card company, no-banking credit card company in Argentina. We're doing exactly the same. The only difference is that the first stage was to reward their sales force. So it's a little game between different branches, and after the quarter, they will get in points every 2 weeks, and after the end of the quarter, those who have the largest amount of points can convert those blockchain tokenized points into loyalty for their employees. We finished stage 1, and again, we're moving into the second and the third stages. Just a couple more slides. This one is something that we love doing. Okay, these are non-for-profit projects that it's very interesting if you guys feel compelled and want to be part of it. This is open to everybody to participate. Blockchain for Humanity is a decentralized incubator for blockchain projects that can really transform our society in positive ways. Decentralized ID, micro-lending, micro-remittances, transparent government, transparent democracies. It doesn't need to be on RSK, so it's blockchain agnostic. Just we want to make sure that in this crazy world of scammy ICOs, we also protect and help those projects that can really make this revolution be what we all expect it to be. So in our vision, the blockchain revolution is not about technology only. It's a social revolution. If we do the same things we were doing before, I mean, and I was working in private equity in London, it's just the only thing that we care was making money. If we only care about that, then we're just adding blockchain and not changing anything. So we want to make sure that these projects that sometimes get tougher times raising money can reach a proof of concept, and this is the purpose of Blockchain for Humanity. La BitConf is the conference that we organize every year. Last year was in Colombia. This year in December we'll be in Chile. I encourage you all to come. It's a gathering of friends. We always have Andreas Antonopoulos. This year we had Nick Szabo. So we have the best speakers in the world that come to share with the community. It's 100% community and technology, no ICOs there. But also, we said that, you know, doing it once a year was not enough. So we came up with another crazy idea. It's called La Bitcoineta. Camioneta, it's a minivan. La Bitcoineta, it's a Bitcoin minivan that will go from small village to small village all across Latin America, like a kind of crypto Che Guevara, explaining those people how they can start saving in Bitcoin, how they can become developers, how they can get self-employed, and reaching those families and those entrepreneurs that, you know, for some reason are not getting involved in the community and with the technology yet. The most exciting thing is that we have friends that want to replicate this in Africa, in Eastern Europe. We are talking to friends in India to see if we can do the same. So let's make this viral. No? If we really want to change our society, we need to take blockchain technology to the emerging markets. And this is something that we want to also to open to the Dutch community and all of you. If you come up with any solution that might have an application in one of the emerging markets, just let us know. We've been doing this for the last 5 years before creating RSK, just helping crypto projects to become successful and to bring their business models to Latin America, so happy to help. The last one, it's again, we all know that the most important bottleneck in the space is the lack of developers. So we said, what we can do? Well, we put together 2 courses, one for decision makers and one for developers. This is not an RSK course, it's a full blockchain stack with Ethereum, Bitcoin, dApps, Solidity, everything, that we give for free to universities and digital houses that want to make their own town or their own country a blockchain hub. So if any of you is interested in education or needs any help, let us know. we are not expecting any profit from this. All these 4 projects are just non-for-profit to help the community. This is something that we love to share with the community all the time. You know, we've been, as entrepreneurs, we've been pursuing the unicorn and you know, regarding billionaires because of the amount of money that they've done. We believe that if you are so lucky to be in this room today and involved in the crypto space, just wasting your life only making money, it's a waste of resources. We expect that within the community we start, you know, treasuring these values where the real unicorns and entrepreneurs that we value are those who are trying to change the world and bring services to these billions of users that need them so much. Like when we were kids, we wanted to change the world, and then we grow up and we forget. Well, maybe blockchain technology can help us make those early dreams too. These are just links in case you want to get involved. This is the GitHub. Everything we do is open source, so you know you can see it, analyze it, check it, peer review it, and if you have better ideas than us, just take it. It's yours. The Gitter to talk to the development team. The whitelisting that we're going to keep for a couple of months, so we make sure no one does a massive ICO before all the miners are merge mining and the federation members are ready. This is the Educate link, in case you want to get involved in education. And this one is the bounty program that we're doing. If any developers are here and want to review the code and participate in the bounty program, and the ambassador program, where we put all the dApps and the solutions are available in Brazil to be commercialized here. If you develop something and want an ambassador to deploy it in Latin America and emerging market, it's also available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have 2 more speakers, and it's already, and you have really late to go somewhere.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Gabriel.
Thank you.